forecast despite reduced fear of COVID-19. Federal government directs telecommunications companies to bar calls from SIM cards not linked with a national identity number NIN. Plus, Russian gas supply hits record high on cold prompted demands despite Western sanctions. This is Business Express on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority, the NTA, and we're reaching you from Abuja, the nation's capital. I am Leah Katung, Babatunde. We begin the program this morning by informing you that the World Bank says COVID-19 flare-ups, diminished policy support, and lingering supply chain bottlenecks will see the global economic recovery cool more than previously estimated in 2022. The Washington-based development organization said in its semi-annual Global Economic Prospects report this Tuesday that global gross domestic product will probably increase 4.1% this year, less than 4.3% forecast in June. It added that by 2030, annual output is expected to remain below the pre-pandemic trend in all regions, with emerging market and developing economies, while in advanced economies, the gap is estimated to close. World Bank Group President David Malpass underlined the importance of debt relief for developing countries via the common framework established by the group of 20 largest economies, including full participation by China. Oil prices abolished during the Asian session on Tuesday as the two major oil benchmarks are up over 1%, fueled by the potential for more sanctions following alleged war crimes by Russian troops in Ukraine. This has also added to concerns about supply disruptions while Iran's nuclear talks stalled. The global benchmark Brent crude futures is up 1.62%, currently trading $109.27 a barrel. The United States benchmark, the West Texas Intermediate futures, is also up 1.62%, currently trading $104.97 a barrel as of this morning. Reports say also weighing in on the price of the black liquid is the comment of the Japanese Industry Minister Koichi Higuita, who stated that the International Energy Agency, IEA, was still working out details for a planned second round of coordinated oil releases. A decree signed by Russian President Vladimir Putin stipulates that Western countries must start paying for gas through a Russian bank that will transfer foreign currency into rubles. Under Putin's plan, foreign countries will open accounts at Gazprom Bank to pay for Russian gas, and failure to comply, he said, would lead to suspension of gas supply contracts. The decision came into effect on April 1. Now, joining me to discuss more sanctions being contemplated on Russia and the economic implications on the global economy is Wendell Addy, Chairperson, Africa Private Sector Summit. He joins us from Ghana this morning. Good morning, and thank you for joining us, Mr. Wendell.
Good morning, and thank you for having us.
Okay, great. I also have joining the conversation Sese Mokele founding executive director, Africa Oceans Dialogue, who joins us from South Africa. It's a pleasure having you on the program, Mr. Mekele.
Thank you. Thank you very much to you and the viewers. Thanks so much.
Great. Perhaps I start with you. We are considering this morning, of course, the introduction of payment in rubles by Russia. What do you see playing out in the global market with this decision that has just kicked off?
Yeah, I think this is a long developing call it phenomenon in global markets. That whilst we're looking at two countries that are warring over very specific matters, but the measures, sanctions that are being taken are such that they're beginning to expose the whole international marketing systems to phenomenon that will outlast the conflict itself. And this area of currency of trade is at the end of this conflict will have gone through a change that may just be irreversible and maybe even lead to the multiplication of a key currencies of trade. And some are arguing that at the expense of the dollar, but it's something that we can discuss. But this will be the long-term effect of this war that might even take just a couple of weeks, if not months. Thank you.
Okay, can I ask you, Mr. Adi, what will be the likely consequences, if any?
Well, we saw what happened in 2007, 2008, thereabout, when you had the similar, well, no, it was not a war crisis, but a financial crisis that affected the world. We also witnessed a similar situation back when you had the war, back in, I think, back in 1973, 74. The Israeli Arab conflict. So these things have their impact across the continent, I mean the world for that matter, but more specifically for Africa, it's always
It seems we're having some connection problems there with Mr. Adi. So can I return to South Africa where we have Mr. Mokelo joining me as well. Could you let us in? Will this be an advantage for Russia? It seems we're having some connection challenges there, so let's move on and we'll get back to the discussion in a very short while. Let's take our sponsored segment, Surviving COVID-19 series.
Surviving COVID-19 series is brought to you in partnership with the Central Bank of Nigeria.
Moses says he ventured into the world in business about 10 years ago, and his experience has been really interesting in terms of returns on investment.
Yeah, we're making money, but the money is not enough because of the way things are expensive these days. When you make money before you know, you spend it without knowing what you spend it on.
His business, he said, is taking another dimension in the face of COVID-19.
And after the lockdown, the business is not moving as usual. You understand? Because customers these days are complaining there's no money, and even though we charge them to pay, they won't be able to pay what we really want them to pay so that we can deliver the job for them. So it didn't really affect us, and the business at the time is moving down. We're not moving the way it's supposed to be.
This eye-opening pandemic that poses so much challenge is also affecting his business, and this made him re-strategize.
After the COVID, we just raised the plan actually because the way things are not moving, so we decided to add it with another business compared to the one we're doing now.
Inadequate power supply remains a major obstacle.
Our work involves a light. You can't do anything without light. As you can see, the generator will be running all these days. And it's not really helping us. It's like because to change the cost of the fuel we are wasting and other things. You will find out that what we are supposed to have achieved as our own, we are no more achieving it. So the government can really do something about this NEPA thing so that at least business can move in this country.
Surviving COVID-19 series is brought to you in partnership with the Central Bank of Nigeria.
Thank you, Alain Kaojo, for that wonderful package. Telecommunications companies have been ordered to bar outgoing calls on mobile lines not linked with the National Identification Number NIN. Minister of Communications and Digital Economy Issa Pantami, in a statement on Monday jointly signed by the Director of Public Affairs, Nigerian Communications Commission Ikechukwu Adinde, and Head Corporate Communications National Identity Management Commission Kayode Adegoke, say the move is part of the implementation of the NIN SIM linkage policy of the government. Pantami commended Nigerians and legal residents for support during the exercise to link the NIN to SIM. The statement added that over 125 million SIMs have so far had their NIN submitted for immediate linkage, verification and authentication. NIMC has so far issued more than 78 million unique NINs to date. Despite the Naira's continued fall, currencies of some emerging markets are gaining against the dollar. Let's see the latest exchange rate. Investors lost 83.57 billion naira as Monday's trading session ended in negative territory. The all-share index shed 0.33% at 46,687.85 basis points, and market capitalization closed at 25.169 trillion naira. 219 million shares valued at 1.9 billion naira were traded in 5,168 deals. Transcorp, Fidelity Bank and UBA emerged the most traded equities in terms of volume and value. And we move to the commodities market where, well, the market is taking all shades. Go on a short break while we try to re-establish contact with both gentlemen from Ghana and South Africa. Of course, the internet is being unfriendly this morning, but we're going to just try out something. Let's take this short break. We have returned to Mr. Adi now on phone, of course, because the internet is just unfriendly this morning, but we're going to take the conversation up from here. And I'm hoping you'll be able to tell us what this advantage is for a country like Russia.
I didn't get the last part. What is the advantage for the continent?
Yes, no, for Russia now, and then of course Africa, if you could sum it up for us.
Basically, I think what we should be focusing at this point, is, I think at the country level, the leaders, our leaders, should meet with the business community, all right, followed by a summit at the EU. They should take along the information exchange. It should not be just based on government policy, but one that is formulated jointly by the private sector and the public sector. All right, that should be taken to the EU for a common approach in trying to address the challenges facing the country. You have the oil crisis. You have, we can look at economies of scale application in terms of transforming our natural resources across the continent for the benefit of the continent and for export. All right? We need to look at policy. We need to look at the enabling business environment for the continent, across the continent. We currently, the ATS is currently working with UNECA, the Pan-African Chamber of Commerce, and the African Association of African Universities to come up with a bill of rights for enabling business environment for the continent. We have to address this issue of civil unrest across the continent. This is what is impeding Africa's development. Equally so, and in a message by from the chairperson of the AU, the aspect of sovereignty is also impeding Africa's transformation. We need to change this narrative. All right? In his language, his words, not mine, it says that the second problem to consider is the question of sovereignty of states. This is a protective shield against all sorts of abuses occurring in a member country. So, the private sector has to engage to actively co-opt the public sector to create that environment, I think, every environment for business to thrive and flourish across the country.
Okay, I must sincerely thank you, Mr. Wendell, and unfortunately we can't continue with the conversation, but we hope to return you as soon as possible before the week runs out.
Thank you.
And also apologies to Mr. Mukele for the internet disruptions there, and we're going to get back to you also before the week runs out, hopefully. Do have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Okay, so we move to the global scene. India shares fall as financials and inflation worries weigh stock markets. Global market update is next with Boss Day Abel.
Global markets remain closely attuned to developments in Ukraine and prospects for central bank policy around the world in the face of surging inflation. European markets were muted on Tuesday as global investors sought a catalyst with eyes on the Ukraine-Russia conflict and economic indicators. Asian markets are mixed on Tuesday as oil prices jumped with mostly positive gains. In Japan, the Nikkei 225 climbed 0.19% to close at 27,787.98, showing positive while mainland markets are closed for public holidays. U.S. stock futures were little changed in early morning trading Tuesday after investors bought the dip in technology shares following recent weakness. Futures on the Dow Jones Industrial Average rose just 10 points. S&P 500 futures and Nasdaq 100 futures both sat marginally lower. African markets are still picking up at the time of this report. South Africa and Tanzania are pointing downwards, while Namibia's overall index is posting gains. Boss Able, Business Express.
Okay, and this is where we end this episode of the program. Don't forget, you can access all previous episodes on YouTube on the NTA's channel. We value your feedback. Do join us again for another package Wednesday at 3 p.m. And of course, we're going to take this conversation further. What the Russian ruble versus the US dollar payment system will be looking like in the coming days and its effect on payment systems on the African continent. Of course, as we look ahead to the African Continental Free Trade Area taking its roots in Africa. Have a wonderful day ahead. My name is Leah Katung. Babatunde.